Greetings, 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 greetings. This is Arno on the Wall Live. You know, greetings. How have we all been? Yes. Well, you know, this is Arno on the Live. Welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Chunky, mwah. Welcome. Arno on the Live one more time. Yes, so you know, let's get our beverages. As I was saying, you know, our wine, chilled wine, or room temperature wine. To my brethren, Stephen Span, how have you been? Greetings. Get our little popcorns, or who feel a little fancy to do a little, you know, some little wings or something. Who now taking out the dinner or the supper. You know, let's come in and, yeah man Stephen, let's come in and let we vibes up a little. You know how it goes. You know, this is Arno on the Live, and you know, we're here to have discussion, we're here to speak, we're here to build one another, we are here to enlighten one another, we are here to support one another. And it is extremely important that we support one another. It is extremely important that we help one another. And we give one another that support. You know, so let's get ourselves in for the live. Aha, see somebody pour up the drink and thing, man. Who's that? Let me have something to drink. Well, you know, today I'm having something a little special today. I'll just show you a little hint. Sponsored by the one and only you know, it's a lovely day. That we could sit down and have nice conversation. Yeah? Yeah. Hey, to my godmother, greetings to you. So you know the normal, we would just give a little couple of minutes to get the, you know, to get a little couple of people on the live before we start into conversation. Yeah. So by the time we're doing that, we're getting beverages, we'll be we little popcorn, you know, whatever we choose to use to relax bring us in a position of relaxation. You know, whether we're in our bed, we're in our sofa, we're traveling home in the bus or the train, or on a maxi coming from school, from work, from socializing. You know, wherever it is, you give it a little time to build, to get a couple more viewers, and then you'll get into having a conversation. Greetings to you, Kim. How have you been? Yeah. Massive and crew. So now, as I'll be saying in the beginning of all my life, my life and on the wall is based on enlightenment. As I said, anybody, any person, anyone are more than welcome to tune in and watch and be a part and be involved in you know, and on the wall. But it should be told, you know, it is not designed for every person. You know, because sometimes it may not be what some people may be looking for. Likewise, you know, it has some people who are interested and eager to what conversation is being held. Yeah, you know, my intentions is not to persuade, not to force, not to compel, not to control, not to dictate anyone or intentionally force anyone to do anything that they are not comfortable with, that they not fully desire to do or to become. But my main purpose is for enlightening, you know, to making us become a little aware. For those of us who may know or understand or share the same point of view that I'm making, you know, it can also be used as a form of confirmation. You know, as a form of confirmation. You know, there are some of us who, what I'm saying is not that they don't know it or it's something extremely new, but, you know, it might be things that we're too familiarized with. And, you know, by our conversation, it will allow people, once your mind are open, it allows people to think, and it allows people to ask questions and search, you know, because the way how we would thought to see things sometimes is not always the best way for us to look at things. You know, sometimes we are accustomed standing in the box and we're looking at things in the box. But there are times we need to stand outside of the box or stand on top of the box or below the box and look at things at a different view and at a different perspective. You know, so this is what my intentions is, to give, you know, my viewers, my listeners, you know, food for thoughts. You know, something that, you know, that you probably never really understand certain things and why things happen the way they do, or why we behave the way we do, you know, and how we can improve it to become better today than we were yesterday. Yes? So we will give it a little couple of minutes again for it to generate. Yeah? So so let me give it a little couple of minutes. Now remember, as we say, if anyone have any questions, any comments to make or ask, even though the conversation is going on and it may not be a topic that your question might be based on, do not feel intimidated, or do not get any sad feelings. Ask your question, make your comments. And if it's a question that is asked that that I can blend in our conversation while I'm talking, I will do that. If it's greetings to you, Christine. If it's if you ask a question and while coming down, probably to the closing of our conversation, I may also bring it in as well. Excuse me. I may also respond to the comments. And if I cannot do so, in the next live that we are having, I will answer or respond to that comment the very first thing. So, while we're speaking and you may have a question, feel free to ask a question. Regardless of what the topic or the conversation may be about, you just ask a question, Don't let us procrastinate. Because it could left forgetting. Yeah? So let us also, if you have questions, let us send in our questions, comments, feel free. While we are watching as well, like and share so that other people that who would like to be exposed so one who is willing to learn can be privileged to get some enlightenment. How can one learn to interpret a dream? Greetings to you, Betty Lou. Greetings to you, Cynthia. It was a pleasure to have you all on. Now, interpretation of dreams is a gift, or is a skill or art or a talent that one develops through the divine intervention of God, and when interpreting dreams and stuff like that, a person needs to be a person needs to be extremely open and look at that dream on a neutral basis and be very open and optimistic. Yeah. What you can do, Kim, you can message me or contact me on a personal note, and we can have a conversation. You know, because actually unraveling or explaining dream and thing, you know, I can do that a little. Not much, but I can do a thing that I'm guaranteeing you it will bring it. Of course, Betty, it's time to bring all the but naturally, I don't have mine already. That I can assist you with, Kim. You know, so but it's something that, you know, I speak to people on personal level, because it's a talent of mine that I do. So, you know, you can contact me and we'll have a conversation about it, you know, and there is some other things we'll discuss before we get into the dream and stuff like that, where I'm concerning that. So, okay, so greetings, welcome one more time, welcome again with Arno on the wall, and it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you tonight. Yeah, so let me get down to some conversation. Yes, let me get on to some nice conversation. Now, this topic is a topic that I have been looking at this topic or this conversation we are about to have for quite a while. And I want you all to listen to it very carefully, you know, because there will have a lot of messages in it, right? And there are times every one of us will share experience in these messages. So welcome. I am stuck, you know, because I'm not changing. There are some of us, not all, some, who from last 10, 15, 20, 30 years, 40, 50 years, according to our age, we remain the same way that we are. And some of us, we refuse to change. And it causes us to remain in the same position throughout our life. And when it comes to serving God, there are plenty of us who serve God spiritually, and there are plenty of us who serve God under a physical or a carnal way of serving God. And that being said, with some of us who choose to serve God in the physical aspect, in our life, we remain stagnant. There is no growth. You know, year in, year out, we remain the same. You know, because the way how we serve God or we serve the creature and not the creator. You know, so we remain stuck in this one way, not because we are blind, so we cannot see, not because we are deaf, you know, so we cannot hear, or even numb, because we have no feelings. You know, it's not just because of these things, but it comes from being in a zone of comfort, or as they would be saying, in a comfort zone. And to be accepted, you know, by our peers, our colleagues, family, and even society. So we remain in a position where we cannot I'm getting there, Betty Lou. So, therefore, we are fixed in one place. And we believe, greetings to you, Helen, and we believe that serving God is just about going to church, to temple, to synagogue, to mosque, or to wherever, you know, so that we can be seen by man, you know, put on a show every Sunday or every Saturday or every Wednesday or every what day we choose to go these places. You know? And when these things happen, you know, we become so comforted that it becomes a permanent behavior in our life, that there isn't any growth spiritually. You know, because we remain so afraid, we become so scared to venture outside of that physical aspect of just going to church and dressing up on whatever days is church or worship or prayers or however we want to just call it. You know, and you know, you want to go every Sunday to show people that we goes to church every Sunday. You know, and it becomes so permanent that we believe that by going to church or by doing these things every time we have church or whatever the case may be, that it is growth. You know, we believe that, and we become stagnant and there is no growth. And this happened because we're so comforted that we are afraid to accept change. This is why there's books when we read, it will tell you that some of us have eyes to see, but we cannot see, ears to hear, but we cannot hear, even tongue or mouth to speak, and we cannot speak. And it's not because, as I said before, it's not because we are blind, or we are deaf, or we are dumb or mute. It's because we become so comforted that even though we seeing, or we hearing, or we feeling something other than what is not customary, we become afraid to venture there. Now, it had two energies. A greater energy and a lesser energy. And the greater energy, the greater energy was highly disturbed. He was vexed, he was upset, until he had reached a stage where something he had created, that he find it to be so, the thought behind it, the manifestation behind it, the energy behind it, you know, he thought it was so beautiful, it was so lovely, you know. After it was created or made or designed, greetings to you, Mercer. You know, after it was created and designed, it was not going in the way or the manner in which this greater energy would have wanted it to go. You know, sometimes we as people, we may do something, we may create something, we may be so enthusiastic about it, so happy, so zealous about it, you know, and when we finish make it and we complete it, you know, we find that something not adding up, something wrong, and sometimes we feel so disappointed. We feel so angry. We felt so hurt that we want to destroy it. And I will start over. Best I mash it up or break it down, and I will do it over. Or best I throw it away. Or you know, you might try to cook something. Oh gosh, look how it coming out. Best I throw it away, or you know. So this greater energy had that same feelings after I created something, and its intention was to destroy it. And you know, sometimes when we reach that stage in our life that we so rotted, you know, we greetings to you, Kevin. We become so rotted that we start to act with haste and with anger, and we want to destroy. We want to probably you curse out or react in a negative way because we are so vexed. So the lesser energy, you know, sometimes when the voice inside of us would start to talk to us and say, hey, you know, take your time, let me relax. You know, let me relax and let me look at it. And you might twist it so, you might turn it so, you might flip it so, and then you might start to smile, ting it and nod your head and let me try it. And you know, instead of you destroying it, you end up using it. And sometimes, you know, it has turned out to be a good. You know, I'm glad I didn't mash this up now. Or I'm glad I did not give it away. Or I'm glad I did not throw it away. So the lesser energy now start to talk to the greater energy and say, oh, nah, you're overreacting. You don't need to destroy such beautiful thing that you create. You know, you say, here what? Let me help you. Allow me to fix this and bring it back just the way you want it. So the greater energy now, look at him, you know, and telling him and start warn him and say, listen to me. I know you're young. Right? You don't have much experience. But you see this thing here, best leave it alone. You know, allow me to do what I have to do and let me leave it alone and we could start all over. Don't get involved in this. Let me leave it alone. But you know, sometimes when we are young and we want to do something and we feel and we have the belief that we know it all and we can do it all, we don't take time to listen to wisdom. We don't take time to listen to our elders, to our teachers, whether they be our parents, whether they be a coach, whether it be a co-worker. You know, we don't take time because we're young and we feel we know it all and we feel we can fix it. You know? So the greater energy telling the lesser energy, watch now, best to leave it alone and think about it, because you see that way you go in and do that, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. You know the saying, they say, only fools tread where wise men dare. You know, so it's something like that. The greater energy was telling the lesser energy. But the lesser energy is so persistent that he could do it. So the greater energy step back and say, you know what? If you think that you could do it, go through. You say, what you need? So the greater energy tell him, disguise me, right, as one of your creation. Make me an equal to one of your creation. You know, and the greater energy look at him and saying, boy, you sure? He say, yeah, make me as equal as them, you know, as the creation. So he said, well, okay. He make him and he allow him to go through the process of his creation. While the lesser energy develop and he becomes like the greater energy creation, he start to walk on earth with mankind. So he become like man. When he becomes like man now, you know, he turned out to be one of the, he turned out to be a gangster. And I use the term gangster because he started order, or he started pull and create some followers, some members, about 12 of them or so, you know. And then once he died, that was his squad. You know, he was the ringleader, and he had 12 men to watch his back. So he's a rebel, a revolutionist. You know, he going against what these other people preaching and what the doctrines and thing are. You know, he decided to go against them. Yeah, correct. You know, he was a rebel. You know, and according to reading, he was the first rebel in that time that was really recorded. Yeah, you know, because he had 12 riders who would have done anything for him, you know, and anywhere he go, he make sure his squad riding with him. Yeah, 12 of them. You know, and just as you and I, you know, there are places we go, and everywhere we go, we have our squad, we have our rebels, we have our team, you know, we have our people standing with us, you know, which it should be humanity, discipline, love, peace. You know, these becomes, you know, our fruit. You know, humility and these things, you know. So, you know, he had his squad, he had the rebels, and they start to go all over the place, and he started to you know, do his thing, and it began to create an uproar, because now we're going against the cartel. And once a kingpin or a head have people in a particular order, and somebody come to do or doing something that is opposite to what they want, they become a rebel. So, you know, this leader, you know, he was a rebel. He had 12 followers, main soldiers who would have ride or die with him, you know. It had an incident, one of them, some men come for the boss. He draw a little sword and thing, I was ready and all them kind of thing, you know. Because, you know, they wanted to protect this leader that they have. And as time goes on, these people, this man now, he started to operate and he started to do things. So he started to bring a new way to people. You know, he started to express a different way of doing things. He started to teach people and he started to show people there is a way other than what you are being shown or what you are being taught. You know, there is a way that we as a people, there is a way we ought to do things. There is a way that is beyond understanding. There is a way that is beyond the physical attributes of man, you know. It's a divine that is known as love divine. So he all over the place he went. He started to teach that and started to show them that now this is something that was so new to these people. They could not have compute. They could not have understand because, you know, they were so fixed in this way that they become blind to or deaf or even numb, you know, to what this person or this energy was putting across to them. They couldn't see it, right? So, you know, they were confused, they were baffled, you know. But as some of us are, we so filled with curiosity, we so want to be so inquisitive that every way this individual and his squad went or his rebels went, you know, people would have been following. You know, so from the time as an individual, when you start to operate in the capacity that you are truly destined to operate in, there will always be people who would be following you, whether their intentions are good, bad, or indifferent. So, you know, because there are people start to follow him because there are some people who they are now being exposed, or they can now starting to relate to a particular teaching. You know, there are those who wanted to see, you know, plenty of us who want to see just for seeing and just to say, well, we see. And there are those who needed help. So, you know, the words start going out and people start to come in and all these kind of things. And, you know, he started to operate. And when he started to operate and thing, you know, people seeing him and started to call him all sorts of names and telling him, oh, it's you who did this. It's you who did that. Right? And started to call him rabbi, teacher, you know, healer. And they started to put him up, you know, high. And he continuously saying, you know, it's not me. What you see me do is not me, but he that liveth in me. Right? So, you know, he will heal the sick. He will allow the blind to see. And when people run into praise him and things, he said, don't praise me, but praise he that's within me, because he that sent me is greater than I. Right? And when they ask him, is you do so and so? He said, me? It's not me. I didn't do that. But he is within me. Right? And so when he speak like that, you know, and people seeing him, but when they asking him, he's saying to them, it's not me. You know, and this is one of the perfect example of how manifestation works. You know, so those of you who might be familiarized with and they would go where there is church, where there is temple, synagogue, or whatever, you know, and they might see somebody operating and doing things, you know, and when we look at it, we're just looking at it with our eyes, you know, it will appear like if it's actually that person. But the truth be told, when after you start to speak to that individual and you were like, you did this and you were doing this and you started this and you started to say this, you know, there are times they will tell you, who, me? No, I didn't do that. I didn't tell you that. I don't know what you are speaking about. So it was it is an experience that the lesser energy in comparison with the greater and the lesser energy, he used to go into such, when he started to operate, he used to go into such trance that when the operation is done and people start to praise him and all these things, he used to tell them, it's not me. Right? So people now, they could not have understand that. So, you know, sometimes you may go somewhere and to some of us who have never seen it before, and you know, you go somewhere and you see somebody, you know, behaving a certain way and doing things and operating in a certain way, and you know, we just be in such awe, and we just be in such, you know, we shock, we are amused, you know, and then some of us who are filled with ignorance will start to criticize it and start to condemn it and want to call it all sorts of names. You know, but when we read, you know, of this book and thing, and we come across a story like this with this same individual that you know, people praise so highly. He spoke about it, or not he, but it was spoken about it concerning him. You know, when times when he operate and they question him, you know, he is like, it's not me. You know, and this is how manifestation, you know, this is one of the way that how manifestation takes place. So, you know, there are times when, you know, the man and his cord moving, you know, and he start to operate, he would go into manifestation and he would do particular rituals and he would do particular things. And when he come back to himself or consciousness, and people start to say, well, I see you do this and you do this and thank you and thing, you know, he never used to accept. He never used to accept, thank you, Kim. He never used to accept the praise. He used to tell them, you know, it is not me. It is not me. But it's he that dwelleth in me. You know, it's that energy that dwelleth in me that allow me to do these things. You know, and this is one of the greatest breakdown of manifestation. And not just, oh, he catch a power, you know, and look at this, and somehow there must be a thing, or there must demon thing, and there is zombie thing, you know. You know, when we lack understanding, we have a tendency of criticizing and condemning things that we don't know, and ironically, we are fully involved in it. You know, we condemn this and we condemn that, but we're doing the same thing, but just in a different way. You know, so So that being said, so he would go about and he would operate, he would operate in his capacity of full consciousness and in the capacity when he not fully conscious. And so his name started to spread. And sometimes some of us who are walking a spiritual road, and who have been exposed, who have been exposed or become conscious of our strength spiritually, and we have taken it up so seriously because now we understand where we are, and we decide to operate in our full capacity. And we might belong to a particular gathering or particular disciplines, So when we start to operate in that capacity, our name start to spread. And everybody start to call your name. Right? So this man now, he and gangsters. He and gangsters, eh? He and gang. This gangster, he and gang. His name starts to call. Because now, he going about now, and he bring a new thing to the table. Right? He bring a new thing to the table, a new taste, a new switch to the table, and it throwing off what's going on with the real cartels and them who running the state and running the country. It throwing them off. So his name started to spread, and people start to investigate. At times when he did and he talking to people, there were traitors who were coming in camp to listen, and I'm saying this so that we can be aware that when we operating and we doing what we have to do, whether we building a house, we want to buy a car, in our job, going to church, whatever, have a business, whatever we doing, when people who not expecting us to grow, when they hear about it, they would send filtrators to come in a camp, to get information, to find out where you are, where you will be, where your next step is. Because when this man was operating, there were people who gathered there, and they were working 100% for the enemy, and they just come to Mako, to carry and report. And there are plenty of people who are invited to gatherings, and before they come with clean hands and pure hearts to be fully involved and to partake, even though you may not be familiarized or you may not be too acquainted with it, but they just come in to be involved and to give that support and strength, right? There are people who just come to see what's going on, to run back to carry news. Because unknowing to you, your name start to call. Right? So while this is happening and stuff like that, he continued. And he going on and he start doing things. He start talking to the members of his gang. And he started to teach them things, and he started to show them things, and he started, what he doing is showing them by examples as well. And sometimes you would find that it have leaders, whether they be female or male, right? And they would be talking to their membership, talking to their students, talking to people and telling them, don't do this, don't do that, do that, do this, do that, do that. And their action contradicts what they are telling. And some of them who consider themselves to be elders or pastors or ministers or whatever, and what discipline that they choose, they're not even self-teaching. They're not teaching, they're not showing, and one of the greatest lesson of love divine or that this man showed was when he had this big gathering, and it surpassed lunch, and this guy who mother gave him 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish to eat because he went out there and thing, and the people was hungry, and he took the bread and the fish and he blessed it, and he started to share it piece by piece, and yes, according to reading, people would say he shared the fish and the bread to the whole 5,000, 10,000, or how many people was there. But what happened was, when he started to share that bread and fish, other people who would have brought something to eat, when they start to see that energy, that I don't have to know you to help you or to assist you or to give you anything, and they see how this man just sharing this thing with people, and people was willing to take a small piece and be contented with it. Other people, it would have inspired other people to do the same. So that is how it could have multiplied. I'm not saying no, but this is one of the way how we start to teach them how love divine, how it reaches and touches and conquers everything. And it was one of the greatest teaching of them all. And it's that teaching that I don't need to know you to give you something to eat. Right? So, so he started to teach and he started to operate. And he started to show people a new way. A more divine way. Because he started to realize that we as man, we stray away from spirituality, and we become so connected to ourselves that we become lovers of ourselves, that we stop operating in love divine. And because we stop operating in that love divine where it reaches and touches everything beyond anyone understanding, and we start to think wholeheartedly about ourselves, about becoming rich without the care of our brothers and sisters, we start to stray away from that, because we start to forget, according to reading, for those of you who have read, that there are certain things that was required of us, to live peaceable and to love, and so we start to separate from these things. Where now, so when he come now, he start to destroy it. It have been away from us so long that it becomes something new. And for those that who was open to it, it started to spread across the field that those who came to carry news or to report, they was in such an awe and they were so amazed how this man could use this simple technique without any fuss, without any quarreling, without any haste, and feed 5, 10,000, 500, 300 people. It was amazing. So obviously now, more news went back. And for one man, without violence, whether it be or abuse, whether it be physical, verbal, or mental abuse, could control all these people. For the cost of nothing that is physical. It started to create even more problems. Sometimes it might be amongst friends. Anyway, it could be partying, it could be on the block, it could be in school, it could be on your job, it could be in whatever discipline you worship under. And you being who you are, and people start to gravitate to you, people start to open up to you, and want to talk and reach out to you. It creates, greetings to you, Joanne, it creates animosity and malice and hatred, with the people who telling themselves they were there all the time, and why all of a sudden you go into this one and you're not coming to me anymore and all these kind of things. So this started happen. So that being said, but it does not stop the rebel leader, the ringleader. It doesn't stop him from doing what he has to do, or what is required of him to do, or what his mission is to do. So he continue and he operating and he going all over the place, and he talking, he working. And he even started to show and teach members of a camp how to communicate with our ancestors. How to, and when they, because now, when he took a couple of his crew and he went, and he went to have a communication with Moses, because there are some people when they hear that people paying homage and paying respect, especially some of us who are under the umbrella of Christianity, and we hear we paying homage and respect to our ancestors and things. We want to frown upon people like that and criticize and condemn them. But if those who under the umbrella of Christianity and things, and when they read, this same person, they hear that he went and he summons Moses and these people and had a conversation right? And he summons them and he starts to behave in a particular manner, which means a manner that those who was with him, they could not have understand and they couldn't have comprehend, because they thought he was going mad. You know, he was going loco, he was going nuts. And they did not realize that he was under full manifestation. You know, because sometimes when especially when we're new to these things and we see people under manifestation, one of the first things we just say is, they're going mad, boy. They're mad, man. If he going mad, he mad. You know, and we class it with mad. You know, and that is because of our teaching. So, you know, things that we don't understand, we characterize it. Greetings to you, Madeline. We characterize it with something negative. So, you know, so when he came back to consciousness, he told his couple of his squad that who was there with him, what you see, you know not. You know, because it's something that was totally new to them. You know, and he said to them, it's something that this is not the time for it to be talking about this, you know. When the time come, that time would come and where you would, in other words, that time would come and where you would have a discussion about it. You know, and there are some of us who, when we go places and we see things that we are not familiarized with, that we are not accustomed to, as soon as we leave, we start to talk about it. We talk about it. And because we lack understanding, the way how we talk about it or the way how we put it over, we bring it across, we create a negative image towards it. And there are some things that we need to wait until we fully understand what taking place or what just happened. You know, and they will have a time where we will be able to speak about it. But some of us, as soon as we go somewhere and we see something, before we even say leave, we start to talk about it. You know, and this is not what is required of us. There are some things that we need to wait. Hence the reason why, you know, we are told that, you know, wait and be of good courage, you know. Wait. And so, you know, he continued doing so. Time reached and his name popular, and people started to feel threatened because they under the belief that they could be overthrown and stuff like that. You know, and sometimes we may be aspiring to become something or do something, and deep and sincerely in our heart, you know, our intentions is not to take over nothing. Our intentions is not to be boss. Greetings to you, Kizzy. Our intentions is not to be the boss or anything. Our intention is just to, you know, is just to be who we are and do what is required of us. But because some of our elders and teachers, our heart, our intentions is not pure, it is not truthful, we tend to feel a great level of insecurity. So what do they start to do? They start to create a party or a pool of people or a group of people, and they start to feed and they start to influence them to come now to take you and break you down, to discredit you, to demoralize you, you know, and your intention is nothing that they think it is. And sometimes you yourself have these people to study. And so it is with this man, because you know he just come to do what he tell the greater energy he going and do, and it had nothing to do with these kingpins. I call them kingpins. The lords and them. So they came now and they arrested. You know, and when they arrested now, they began to question him. You know, they began to put him in position, and they asking him now, they started to make joke of him, they started papi show him. You know, and they started to say, you know, they say you do this, and people said you have done that, and you have made this happen, and you have did this, and you have do that and that and that. You know, and he was so humble. You know, he said to them, well, I didn't say so. You never go around hearing me boasting and saying I do this and saying I do that. It's the people who say so. I did not say so. You know, and it's not me. The credit does not go to me. You know, but it goes to he that dwelleth in me, or he that liveth in me, or he that abides in me. You know, and it's one of the greatest manifestation of humility. And there are plenty of us who are blessed, or I don't want to say who are blessed, but who have become conscious of their art, you know, or they're skilled. You know, sometimes we have a tendency of forgetting that all the skill that we have, you know, it was a hand down through our Creator. You know, we forget that, and then now we start to beat up our chest, and it's I who do this, and if it wasn't for me, and it's I, and you know, we start to sell we name, and we start to get proud, and we start to get cocky, you know, and instead of we facing now and emphasizing on the Creator, we start to look at the creature, you know. So instead of we start to maintain and become even more entwined with our spirituality, we're becoming more and more physical. We're becoming more and more religious, you know. So now there were two heads. They were like, you know, let me look at it like how it have the Queen of England, and the Queen of England also had, England also had a prime minister. So, you know, when they arrest this man, you know, and the king, he had him, but the king, you know, deep in their heart, they knew, deep in their heart, they knew, and they fully understood what this energy, what his intentions was, what he was doing. They fully knew, you know, and they fully understood exactly what he was doing. You know, and sometimes, you know, when we coming up and we start to explore our spirituality, our elders or our teachers, they does know, and instead of they guide us, and teach us how to embrace it and how to operate. What they do, they pretend they don't know. And they try to make it into a mockery to make you feel a little insecure or uncertain of actually who you are and what you are about. So the king started going in this kind of way. Now, all these things boils down to politics. Right? So, so the king said, boy, I really can't just sentence this man about, because there is nothing, I really have to really bust it through. You know what? Let me send him to the prime minister. So when they send him to the prime minister, and the prime minister began to ask questions, and oftentimes people would come and they would bring reports to us, and they would tell us about, hey, you see, I know said this about you, and I know do this and I know that, and sometimes before we stop and we listen to what you are saying and then ask the appropriate question, right, before we come to our conclusion or make our judgment. So if they turn and say, but I know say that how you feel you know everything. Yeah. You see who said that? And what else he say? That is the question we will ask. And what else he say? He and who was saying that. And sometimes we get caught up in the correct. So when we start to ask the wrong question, it throws off our view, and then now our emotions start to play the better part in our judgment. So the prime minister, as I'm calling him, he started to ask this man boy the important question, the right question he started to ask him, because as the prime minister, I'm calling him the prime minister, or the second in hand to the kingpin, even though he was in the world of corruption, he was a just man when it comes to that. And sometimes we might be in a circle of people who involved in a lot of negative vibration, confusion, bacchanal, thieving, and we might be in that circle, but it doesn't mean that we should be like this. So you start to ask particular question to suit the situation in which he therefore was placed into. So in doing so, when the lesser answered him, he turned to the crowd, because they have crowd and they shout, because they had an audience. When he asked him question, he turned to the crowd and he said, I have found nothing wrong with this man. I have tried him and I've found, he is nothing, he hasn't broken any law. Right? So I cannot do anything to this man. And further fact, to make this quite clear, I want nothing to do. I want nothing to do with this matter. So I therefore wash my hands. You know, and it's one of the greatest dismissal that they could ever have. You know, so sometimes because you know, when I was younger, I would have heard my grandmother and other elders would say, see me, I want nothing to do with he. I wash my hands from him or from her or from that. You know, and as simple as it look, by you just throwing water and you're washing your hands, what you have just done there, you have just dismissed that energy or dismiss yourself away from that person. It's one of the greatest dismissal that one can do. You know, if he or she wishes to have no affiliation or no tie to anything, it's by getting water and let somebody pour it and they wash their hands or your hands, which automatically means or signifies that you have no more dealings and your hand or you are now therefore clean from any impurity that would have tied you to this particular individual or object or subject or whatever the case may be. You know, and so now only thing that the lesser energy was doing, right? And you know, he teaching these people, you know, once you keep yourself within a particular order, you know, because you know, he started telling them, you know, things that you see me doing, you can do the same thing. You know, but one must keep the self in this order, you know. There are certain things that you must do. And you know, you must, you know, live peaceful or peaceable with all man, you know, do unto others as you would like others to do unto you, and you know, these things. And this is what being spiritual is about. It's not about going to church every Sunday. You have on the best clothes, best or most expensive fabric made clothes or designers clothes, you know. But so you know, when you teach them that about that love divine, you know, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, shelter the poor, they couldn't understand what he was saying. And to confirm that, you know, when after the prime minister, after he washed his hands and he said, you see me, I dismiss myself from this energy or from this vibration. So, you know, he made himself pure, that whatever is to happen, he has no tie with it. You know, and so a question was asked, all they want this man, or they want that man? Now the next man, he also used to help people as well. But he was the first, he was the first Robin Hood it had. Right? Because when he robbed, he was a thief. And when he go and he rob, and he thief, and he come in the village, he would have shared his wealth with the village. You know, so when the soldiers or the police come, and he feeding the villagers, giving them, you know, some of the loot that he has stolen, they would not have sell him out. You know, so they both were doing good in different ways. So he would have robbed and steal from the rich, you know, because he was, you know, just how that man was one of the first rebel, or one of the first gangster that was ever written about. He was one of the first Robin Hood in that particular, those who read that book, you know, he was the first Robin Hood that they really spoke about, you know, and people know they were accustomed to that, right? They were accustomed to going down by the fish depot and beg for fish, and the man would have given them fish. But when a man come to teach them how to fish so they could be independent, you know, on their own, they did not want that, because that is something that they were not accustomed to. They rather to go and beg for fish than learn how to fish. So they rather to be dependent than independent. You know, and plenty of us as people, plenty of us, we serve God religiously and not spiritually. So what the lesser of the greater came to do, he came to teach us, you know, how we should serve God under this spiritual umbrella and not under this religious umbrella. You know, not because I gain a penny or two, and I gain this and I gain that. That is the way. No, because, you know, it is greater and it is more powerful than that. And there are plenty of us who remain, and we are stuck in calling out to Barabbas. You know, we are stuck in asking to free Barabbas. You know, like we free the religion, like we remain in this way. You know, instead of we asking for us to like we free the manifestation of Christ. You know, so when we ask to free Barabbas, it means that we so accustomed to this physical aspect that we remain, you know, we are stuck, you know, because we are not willing to change from this physical and vibration and transfer ourselves into a spiritual transition. So we remain stuck. We remain one place for 40 years. You know, and so some of us will become like the people who call on the freedom of Barabbas. You know, and we didn't care because we couldn't compute, or we could not have understand what this individual was teaching us, what he was showing us. Because oftentimes, some of us, when we serve God, our main measurement to show that, yeah, God, is to show something of a physical aspect to compare it with. You know, so we lost the core purpose of why we are serving God under the umbrella of spirituality. So when that was done, and the people now choose, right? Because the king, He was so intelligent. The king, of course, he's prisoners of habit. The king, he was so intelligent, right, that he still could not have sentence or free sentence or free the lesser, right? He allowed the people to do so, right? And this is how things happen, right? When there are plenty of us would say, Satan make me do this, the devil make me do this, right? The devil cannot make you do anything. The devil cannot make you do nothing that you don't want to do, right? So the king now, he still withdrew himself and he let the people choose, because there is politics, and wherever the people say, well, okay boy, I will grant it to all them. But he himself exclude himself in a technical way, but he did not escape his judgment. You see the prime minister who washed his hands, you know, who put down one of the greatest dismissal. You know, some of us who want to go down here with dismissal, let's feel it all that elaborate. But just by washing your hands and saying, I want no part with thee, one has found his or herself dismissed from such energy. You know, so when that happened, and the lesser man realized, boy, I went through all of this. I went through all of this to show you the way, the truth, and the light. And you all still prefer darkness. Wow. You know, wow. So that is why, you know, when death reached him, he called out to the greater. He called out to him, you know, yaba, yaba, my Lord, why hast thou forsaken? You know, because, and it happens to all of us. You know, after we went so far out for family, loved ones, friends, even strangers, you know, sometimes they turn wrong and they hit we, you know, and we sit down now and we start to converse within ourselves, because God in man makes manifest. And we started to say, I can't, you know, and it hurt us the most. Right? So when the lesser he called, you know, because he felt that he was being forsaken, he said, God, boy, you know. But what happened was he had forgotten that when the greater was going to destroy, he intervened. And he said he could fix it. You know? He was warned, but he still asked him to prepare me. Make me like one of them. Let me show you I could do it. You know, but only those who feels it knows it. So, this is why some of us, this is why we are stuck. And I know this is why we cannot grow, because we are not willing to change. You know, it is once said that to serve me, one ought to serve me in spirit and in truth. You know, he that is of the spirit is of the spirit, and he that is of the flesh is of the flesh. You know, some of you all may be familiarized with this saying. Some of you all may not be. Greetings to you, Jennifer. You know, so this is why some of us are stuck, because we are so blinded. And why we are blinded, why we are deaf, why we are dumb, we becomes comforted in where we act. We becomes full of fear that we might be frowned or laughed at. You know, so we choose to remain where we at. Just like these people, when they have heard, and some of them who have seen the miraculous thing that this energy did or have done, it still was not good enough, or it still could not have replaced this person who would have given them, you know, a few dollars well, you know, because it remained in their head, this physical gain, you know, this physical gain, this physical attention, you know, that creates this stagger. So this brings it to the end of this conversation. So I would like to thank you all for your listening ears. Thank you all for all the love. Thank you all for all the strength. You know, I realize that I ain't get a question asked. So I don't know if you all get it or if you all don't. Right? I haven't heard a question asked. Thanks to Kizero. Nice contribution. Prisoners of habit. Quite correct. So I pray that you all has grasped today's topic and our conversation. You know, so if you all, as I was saying, if you all have questions or comments, please feel free to leave it. You know, continue to share and like. And since there is no other comments and thing, thank you all very much. I pray that you all oh, thank you, Kim. I pray that you all enjoy this conversation. I pray that you all can relate it, and I pray that you all can identify it. And think about it again. I got A plus with this, that, and the other. What? So pat myself on the shoulder then. Good boy. Yes. So thank you very much. I love you all for loving me. And next week Wednesday, you know, before I go, anybody have any topic that they would like me to, of course, food for thought. Anybody have any topic that they would like me to do next week Wednesday? Okay, going once, going twice. Yeah, I know you do. So, pleasant good night. Thank you all one more time. Thank you all for all your love. Thank you all for all your support. Share, view, and remember, let us be better today than we were yesterday. Yes? That being said, this is yours truly, Arno, live on the wall. Peace, heart of love, bless. Greetings.